No docs just means that you don't have to show any financials. So tax returns, bank statements, 25K is usually the cap for no docs with US Bank. Lines of credit, that's the best funding you can have.
Let's talk about that. What should a person have? Like what position should they be in? Let's say credit score, income.
What people won't tell you is that you want to get those high limits, they still soft pull the person. But this is a soft pull line of credit. And we've had people come right in and get like 50,000 on that. The number one thing with getting business funding.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Calvin Russell here. Super excited to bring this next special guest on another episode of Receipts. We're still talking about business credit, and today we're going to be talking about US Bank. Now, of course, I don't just pull anyone onto this show. I only bring people that actually have receipts of either helping people or doing this themselves. And either way, don't have a lot of time. He has clients that's waiting on us, especially right after this interview. So I most definitely want to go ahead and bring in Mr. LaJuan Hughes. LaJuan, can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, I can, man. What's going on?
All right. Awesome, man. It's a pleasure to have you back on the channel as we're going to talk about US Bank, and you're the man to go to, man.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
All right. Awesome. All right, let's jump right into it, man. So let's go into some of the receipts that you got. So now of course, we know that US Bank is a little bit more strict, on the business funding side, but you still were able to put people in position recently. And what would you say, how many people you've helped recently get funding with US Bank?
They're a little bit tougher. So, typically you kind of got to have some cash flow to mess with them a little bit. So recently about 50 people. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. And then what would you say, like on the low end? I know people have gotten hundreds of thousands, things of that sort, but like on the low end, what would you say a person has gotten business funding for with them?
Yeah. Line of credit wise, about 10,000. And that is no docs too. So.
Yeah. Wow. With no docs, man. And so here, let's talk about that real quick, and then we'll go into what a person needs to have in place in order to do that. So exactly what does no docs mean for those people who are new to business funding?
Yeah, it's a like a hot term, it's kind of it's hard to do it. People make it a little easier than what it is though. But no docs just means that you don't have to show any financials. So tax returns, bank statements, things of that nature. And so what people won't tell you is that is not a one size fit all scenario. Like just because one person says, "Oh, this bank is no docs," like that doesn't mean you're going to get no docs, because it really is a case by case basis. Everybody has a different credit profile. 2780 credit scores aren't made equal. You know what I'm saying? So it is very different.
That's right. Okay, good to know. See, now you guys know what no docs is, because when some people, I'm sure they see it, it's like, what does that mean? I just walk in with my ID and I'm good? Like, no. So, so want to make sure we clear that up, man. So, okay. All right. Now, what does a person have to do in order to either get approved or increase their chances to get approved for $100,000 in business funding with US Bank?
Yeah, man. To be honest, with US Bank, to get 100, you do have to have a little cash flow. I'm not, be honest there. So because with US Bank, and this is kind of something they've been doing recently, they've been asking to be first position the line of credit. So basically, what first position, and we're kind of getting, this is like deep financial stuff here, but first position, what that means is they want to be the one and only bank that has or houses your business funding needs, right? And we're talking about specifically lines of credit, right? So, why this is bad is because they're not gonna, most likely for most people, they're not gonna give you enough to warrant that. So we're talking 10,000, 25,000. 25K is usually the cap for no docs with US Bank. And you ask for anything more than that, then you're definitely going to show docs. So it's not, in my opinion, it's not worth giving somebody, any bank, first position when they're not going to give you at least 100,000 in funding just on a line of credit. We're not talking about any other types of funding, just a line of credit. To me, it's not worth it for first position. So.
Okay, let's talk about that. Now, why don't so is it that you're not that big of a fan of line of credits, or you're just saying that because of the situation with them?
Oh, no, I love lines of credit. If you ask me, lines of credit, that's the best funding you can have. Like, they better than credit cards to me. Like, everybody has a business credit cards, but lines of credit, that's where it's at, man. But no, it's the first position thing, because, as people know, you can get funding from a multitude of different banks if you do it right. So why limit yourself to one bank when they're not gonna, open themselves up to you, so to speak, right? So it's
Okay.
just like why commit to this one bank when they're not really committing to you in the way that they should.
Got you. So you can get
Yeah.
the funding from them. But okay, so then how would you, I won't say hack that, right? But
Hmm.
what would be the play with something like that? That just means that you would go with US bank first if you wanted to do something like that, then get some other relationships with other banks?
Well, so and this is a case by case basis,
Okay.
state by state basis too as well.
Mm,
So we just have had people tell them they have to be first position. So
mm,
what you could do if you wanted to try, you still wanted to try to get a line of credit because this we're not talking about business credit cards with U.S. Bank. We're just talking about the line of credit here with
right.
this first position thing. So what you could do is get some funding from some other banks first and then go to U.S. Bank
Okay.
and try to get a line of credit and see what happens, because they could, we definitely have people get it without
Okay.
that happening. But again, we've had a lot of people have them tell them, hey, we want to be first position.
Mm,
So it's just
got you.
something to look out for.
Got you. Want to be first position, something to look out for. Okay. Is that only with their line of credit that you mentioned?
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
The
Got
business
it.
credit card has nothing to do with that.
Perfect. Okay. And then okay. Now, does a person now what should we'll circle back to that. What
Hmm.
should a person have? Like what position should they be in? Let's say credit score, income, to be like essentially a good credit profile.
Yeah, so and this applies to any bank for the most part, but you want to have, in that everybody says 680, but kind of right now you want to be at like 720 to be honest with you. You want
Mm,
to be at like that 720 range, 5% or lower utilization to be as optimal as possible. Can you get approved with like 8, 9, 10? Yes, but literally the every percent that you go up
yeah.
you're going down in approval limits. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
that's how if you want to get those high limits, you want to
Yeah.
have that utilization as low as possible. Also,
Mm,
having at least bare minimum 2 years of credit history. The longer that
okay.
is, the better your odds are. So,
Got it. Got it. Okay. Now, when you're applying and you're getting this funding, specifically with US Bank, that's
mhm.
the personal side of things. Is there a way to do it where you're not necessarily, a personal guarantee or essentially co-signing for the loan?
Hmm. Yeah, man. I know that's kind of what everybody wants to do, but it's
Yeah.
tough. It's tough to do that right now.
Okay.
Unless your business is like really cash flow. I'm talking doing,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4 million dollars a year.
Mm,
You're not getting out of a PG. Like it,
mm.
and we've worked with people that are doing 5, 7, 8 million dollars a year, and they still got a PG.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
it's just kind of how it is, man. Like a lot of people think like, oh well, I'm gonna go build my business credit and get all these net 30. Like you still gotta, even some of these like revenue based funding options or plays we like to call them,
Yeah.
they still soft pull to personal. Like you're not getting out of that. Doesn't
Wow.
matter what it is. Like these cars like Ramp and like they all of them soft pull and personal. Everything soft
Mm,
pulls personal.
wow.
Soft pull or hard pull. So you can't get out of it. Like so it's kind of just where we're at right now.
Got you. Got you. Man, listen, you most definitely been dropping the gems, on this one as well. Now, another thing as well too. If let's say for example, let's circle back to the credit cards. Is that about the same thing or can a person like essentially they have to be a personal guarantee for the business credit cards as well too?
Yeah, so on the business credit cards, it's very much the same thing. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to get a no PG situation, but for startups, man, it's very rare that happens. Like a startup expect to have that personal credit ready because
Got you.
it's probably not gonna happen. Now again, when you have your cash flowing and you've been in business for a while, is it possible to there some options out there? Yes, 100%. But it may not be a PG where you're actually personally guaranteeing it, but they still will soft pull the credit sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Right.
just how it is. There's a lot of stuff that is not a PG. For instance, like there's a Novo funding play that we like to talk about a lot on the channel, and
Hold up,
with
hold
that
up, hold
one,
up. Wait, hold up. What you just call that again? I want to make sure make sure we don't miss this. What do you call that?
Novo, it's fintech online bank. They're one of our partners, man. I love Novo. It's
Mm,
a revenue play though, so you gotta be cash flowing in your business to
got
run
you.
this. But this is a soft pull play line of credit.
Mm.
We love it, man. Like we've had people come right in and get like 50,000 on that. Again,
Wow.
you gotta have revenue to do that though. But yeah,
What's the minimum revenue you would need for something like Novo?
you would need to be doing like bare minimum at least 15,000 a month.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would say like if you want to really kind of be in a good spot, about 20,000 a month in revenue. Yeah.
Wow. And I know it's crazy because some of these people, some people on the channel, they may make 20,000 in the first half of the year, and they're trying to figure out how these businesses making $20,000 a month, in revenue. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like just trying to get their business to be at that point. But like you said, that's just with Novo. There's so many other places that you can get funding from, and it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily have to be with them.
Yeah, no, and one key thing because I do hear that a lot, like, man, like how like
Yeah.
that's crazy, but that trust me, that it is numbers that will blow your mind, right? What businesses are doing, and it's very
Man.
common. So, but
Yeah.
what I tell people, man, what you got to do, the number one thing with getting business funding, because if you got your profile lined up, you'll get approved, but you got
Right.
to make sure you have a plan for the money. And I always ask people this all the time, like, what is your plan? Because you can get 30, 50, 80, whatever the number is, but what are you going to do with it? Because so many times I see people, they'll get business funding, but they don't do nothing with it. They just go do random stuff and they don't use it for their business. And then guess what? You look up 6, 8, 10 months later, now you got $30,000, $40,000 in debt on the business side. And now you're like, oh, I want to try to go, do my business stuff now,
Right.
and you
Right.
can't because that's there now, so
Mhm.
that's the most important thing. Whatever you get, you got to make sure you can put it to work.
Got it. Listen, I hope you guys heard that, Jim. Whatever you guys are getting the funding for, make sure you can put it to work. And that's most definitely going to play a major role. So, Lawan, listen, man, we greatly appreciate you being here. Drop in the business funding gems as usual. And of course, guys, if you haven't already, make sure you guys go and stop by his YouTube channel. He talks about this stuff all the time. And you guys can go ahead and reach out to him as well, too, if you want to learn more about that business funding, those plays that you guys can run and see if you're in position. And if you're not in position, see what you need to do to get yourself in position. So listen, man, we greatly appreciate you being here again, on the YouTube channel. And is there anything else you want to leave with everyone before we leave out?
Yeah, just kind of what I was just saying. That's probably the most important thing, man. Just whatever you get approved for, like make sure you have a plan for it. Put it to work. Don't
Yeah.
just get some business funding and start just doing personal stuff with it. Like have a plan and put that funding to work. Because again, you'll be surprised on how little funding and how many opportunities are out here where you only need 20,000, 10,000 to go make something happen. Like it doesn't take much at all.
Yeah.
So you just gotta
Yeah.
do your research.
Wow. That's right. Had the information, had the research. That's why this is why we brought Lawan here, guys. So you guys can get this information and start applying it right away. Thanks again, bro. We appreciate you being here. All right.
Yes, sir.